The arena lights dimmed as 40,000 voices fell silent. In the center of that hallowed octagon, two titans prepare for war. I've covered fights across 3 decades, witnessed legends rise and fall, but nothing prepared me for what unfolded that humid August night in Macau. The air crackled with electricity as two fighting philosophies collided in the most anticipated crossover bout in combat sports history. Bolo Yeung, the 77-year-old martial arts legend whose muscles still rippled like granite, faced off against Brock Lesnar, the 300-pound former UFC heavyweight champion and WWE superstar. This wasn't just a fight, it was a collision between eras, between East and West, between ancient wisdom and raw American power. The matchmakers called it impossible, the critics called it insane, but when both men signed their contracts with blood-red ink, the world stopped to watch. Tonight, we would learn whether decades of disciplined training could overcome pure athletic dominance, whether the master could still school the monster. Bolo entered first, his iconic mustache perfectly groomed, wearing traditional white kung fu pants that seemed to glow under the arena lights. At 77, his physique defied every law of nature and aging. Those famous biceps, immortalized in countless Bruce Lee films, still bulged with frightening definition. His walk was measured, deliberate, each step calculated like a chess master positioning his pieces. The crowd erupted as he shadowboxed, his movements flowing like water, yet striking like lightning. This was the man who had terrorized Enter the Dragon, who had made grown fighters weep with his iron palm techniques. But Yeung carried vulnerabilities into this clash. Age, despite his remarkable conditioning, remained undefeated. His reflexes, though still sharp, couldn't match the lightning-quick responses of his prime. The brutal reality of a 77-year-old body, no matter how well preserved, facing a man in his athletic peak created an almost insurmountable challenge. His traditional martial arts background, while technically superior, had never been tested against modern mixed martial arts grappling techniques. Then came the beast Incarnate. Lesnar's entrance shook the building's foundation as 315 pounds of pure muscle mass stormed toward the octagon. His college wrestling credentials spoke volumes, NCAA Division I champion. A man who had dominated opponents through sheer physical dominance his entire career. In the UFC, he had ragdolled heavyweights, slamming them into unconsciousness with ground and pound techniques that looked more like controlled violence than sport. His hands, massive and calloused, could end fights with a single well-placed strike. Yet Lesnar's kryptonite had always been his suspect chin and uncomfortable relationship with being hit. His most devastating losses came when opponents managed to land clean strikes, watching the giant crumble under pressure he couldn't muscle his way through. Against a precision striker like Yeung, those defensive gaps could prove catastrophic. His aggression, while intimidating, sometimes led to reckless exchanges that left him exposed. The bell rang and both warriors circled each other like predators. Lesnar immediately pressed forward, looking to establish his wrestling dominance, but Yeung's footwork was poetry in motion. The old master slipped Lesnar's first takedown attempt with fluid ease, countering with a lightning-fast ridge hand that snapped the giant's head back. First blood to the legend. Round 1 belonged to technique over power, as Yeung systematically dismantled Lesnar's rhythm with precise kicks to the legs and body. Each strike carried 40-plus years of perfected technique behind it. Lesnar's frustration grew visible as his usual tactics failed against Yeung's superior positioning and timing. The master was conducting a clinic, proving that experience could indeed trump youth. But round 2 shifted the momentum dramatically. Lesnar, drawing from this championship wrestling instincts, finally secured a takedown after weathering a barrage of strikes. On the ground, his 300-pound frame became a crushing weight that tested every fiber of Yeung's conditioning. The wrestling control that had dominated UFC heavyweights began asserting itself. Yeung's guard game, though technical, struggled against Lesnar's overwhelming physical pressure. The turning point arrived in round 3 with devastating suddenness. Lesnar, bleeding from cuts above both eyes courtesy of Yeung's precision striking, desperately shot for another takedown. This time, Yeung was ready. In one fluid motion, the martial arts legend sprawled, grabbed Lesnar's head, and delivered a crushing knee strike that echoed throughout the arena. The beast stumbled backward, his legs betraying him for the first time in the fight. Sensing opportunity, Yeung unleashed 40 years of accumulated knowledge in a flurry of strikes that seemed to come from every angle simultaneously. A spinning back fist followed by an uppercut that lifted Lesnar's feet off the canvas. The giant warrior, who had terrorized opponents with his size and strength, found himself helpless against the precision and experience of a true master. But Lesnar's championship heart refused to surrender. Somehow, through sheer willpower and that famous agricultural strength, he survived the assault and pressed forward again. The fourth round became a war of attrition as both men reached deep into their reserves. Yeung's age began showing as his combinations lost some snap, while Lesnar's face resembled a crimson mask from accumulated damage. The final round erupted into pure chaos. Lesnar, knowing he needed a finish, abandoned all technique and charged forward with reckless abandon. Yeung, his movement still graceful despite fatigue, picked his shots carefully. In the final 30 seconds, with both warriors giving everything they possessed, Yeung landed a perfect combination, a jab to set up a devastating hook that sent Lesnar crashing to the canvas. As the referee waved off the contest, 40,000 people witnessed history. Bolo Yeung, at 77 years old, had defeated one of mixed martial arts' most dominant physical specimens through superior technique, ring intelligence, and the kind of heart that can only be forged through decades of dedication to the martial arts. The victory belonged to Yeung because experience had triumphed over athleticism, because precision had overcome power, and because the ancient art proved they still possessed magic in the modern world. Sometimes the old master really can teach the young lion new tricks about combat.